you son of a bitch!
Hey! We're recording the podcast! Shut up!
Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is a morning somewhere for May 16th, 2024. My name is Bernie Burns, sitting right over there. He's got black eyes, like a doll's eyes. Say hello to Ashley.
What the fuck?
You don't recognize that at all?
What is that?
Oh my God, how are you married to somebody this nerdy and you don't know black eyes like a doll's eyes? You don't know what that's from?
No, go ahead and explain.
Do you know
to
what
me
the
so I'm
drop
a little
today
bit
was
less
from?
Freaked out. No.
Smile, you son of a bitch. Really?
Go ahead, hit me.
All of that is from Jaws.
Okay.
So that's Roy Scheider.
I have seen it once, probably with the blankets pulled up high.
I've never heard. I'm just imagining Jaws with the blankets pulled up high around Jaws' face. I've never heard of another Scheider. There's Roy Scheider, who was in Jaws. He was also in Blue Thunder, helicopter movie, where he did a flip in a helicopter. And it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And you know what? Doing a flip in a helicopter is impossible. Do you know how I know that? Because they said that in the first act of Blue Thunder. And then he did it by the end of the movie. What are the chances? What are the chances? It wasn't Blue Thunder, but
so
that's
Roy Scheider, legend, envy of Greta's everywhere.
So the black eyes, like a doll's eyes, is Robert Shaw playing Quint, who our friend Eric Vespi named himself after for his movie writing career. He does a long speech about I forget the name of the boat, but he was on some ship in World War II, a real event that happened where they got sunk and the guys ended up in the water and they got attacked by sharks and stuff like that. It was a really terrible, terrible thing. And Robert Shaw does this huge, really long monologue in Jaws where he talks about that and just kind of chews up the screen. It's an incredible performance. So we have to see Jaws now. We're going to have to watch this.
Okay, can I pull the blankets up?
You can pull the blankets up if you want to. Look up Blue Thunder. God, if I remember that. I couldn't find my keys today, but I'm going to remember what the helicopter movie starring Roy Scheider in 1983 was. Blue Thunder is a 1983 American action thriller film from Columbia Pictures.
And this is relevant to us today not because of sharks, but the whales.
So many stories going on right now.
The orcas are on the attack. This is only the latest story, but there have been a bunch of killer whales attacking ships. Or attacking boats. In this case,
I don't like the term killer whale. I think we're moving away from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just orca?
I think that's a problematic term. Yeah, orca. Killer whales have not killed. There's no verified cases of a killer whale killing a human in the wild ever. That's an important distinction, in the wild.
In the wild, yes. Does it count if they kill boats?
That is property damage. I don't think so.
Oh, boy.
They can kill a human's hopes and dreams and retirement plans.
So this happened off the Strait of Gibraltar.
Strait. You said state.
Strait of Gibraltar.
It was in the Strait of Gibraltar, which is weird because the Mediterranean Sea, if you take out the Suez Canal, it's a sea, so it's completely freaking landlocked. If you want to get in there, you got these two little narrow entrances. You got the Suez Canal, which was famously blocked by
the Ever Given.
There you go, baby. And then now the orcas are working the Western Front. You know, they're like...
But it's a conspiracy. They got the ships on one side, you got the orcas on the other side.
How fucking scared would you be if orcas started attacking your boat and started to make progress?
Pretty scared.
That'd be a pretty scary scenario.
Even more scary is that the orcas are apparently teaching each other how to do this.
Yes.
Because this is a string now of yacht attacks. This is not the first boat that's been sunk by orcas.
It's been going on a while now.
It has been. I've been reading headlines about it for months. And they basically they ram the hull of the ship until it ruptures and the boat then takes on water and sinks. And this is not the first time it's happened. This is only the latest, Bernie. Only the latest. And they successfully sunk this one.
See, here's the scenario. We're on the boat. We're on the deck. We're like, oh, cool, killer whales. They start hitting the boat.
Like I've been hoping. We were out on a whale watching trip.
They would still freak me out a little bit though, because I saw a video of a paddleboarder where he's on a paddleboard and a pod of orcas goes by and one of the quote unquote juveniles comes over, this big monstrous thing just under the water, and starts like swimming around him while he's on a paddleboard. And his account of it was like it lasted for 5 or 10 minutes. I would have died of a heart attack probably way before that. But there would be that moment when you're on a boat and you're safe and you're like, oh, cool, orcas, that's neat. Glad I'm not in the water. And then they start to hit the boat. And then you think, okay, well, that was weird. Well, they probably can't hurt the boat. It's like, didn't we hear a story about the boat getting sunk, blah, blah, blah? Somebody mentions that.
Something about that.
Then you start to take on water. Then this boat starts to sink. Then you got some dumbass like me on the boat going, there's never been in the wild a verified account of a human being. And you're about to go in the water with the fucking things.
As someone's shouting at you like, don't worry, they don't kill humans.
Think about that, though. It's like, it's one thing if you sink a boat and you go in the water and you imagine sharks and big animals that can kill you. It's another thing if the big animals that can kill you are what's putting you in the water.
Right, they're bringing you to them.
You can tell yourself probably 1,000 things and read like an entire Wikipedia article if you want to about killer whales. You're still not going to be comfortable going in the water with those things.
No. Well, in this case, the people were fine. There were 2 people on board and they were picked up by an oil tanker. So not quite the holiday voyage that they had been imagining, but they are safe.
Ashley, let me ask you this. So you lived in Australia. You went surfing. Ever have any incidents in the water?
Jellyfish, but nothing crazy. I did have an area where
Jellyfish and mosquitoes. Like you never hear about like activists going like, jellyfish are really misrepresented in the media. You never hear that one.
I was out surfing one time when a bunch of jellyfish like just floated into the bay, and it was not a lot of fun. You know what, though? You wear a wetsuit. Hopefully your hands and feet are okay.
I don't think I've ever dealt with that. Maybe I have and didn't realize it. Because you're in salt water, too. If somebody abrades you, then it starts to get kind of rashy and stingy anyway because you're in salt water. So I think a lot of things get associated with jellyfish. I don't think I've ever been stung by anything like that.
I think there's some jellyfish, things that they call like a purple people eater or a man of war. You're going to know. It's not going to be a question of like, I think I'm going to brush up against something. You're going to know.
Yeah, it's going to be like that.
And then you're going to be like,
scene in Finding Nemo.
Hey, everybody, pee on me. Just make sure you delete it from your iPhone afterwards.
All right, let me isolate that drop. Hold on. No, seriously, this is business here, Ashley. Hold on. Let me take a moment here and mark this. Okay.
Speaking of, did you see with the newest update, Bernie, that that a bunch of deleted
all your photos are coming back, Ashley.
A bunch of
your quote-unquote jellyfish remedies are going to make their way back into your photo library.
Yeah, there's a lot of deleted photos that are turning back up in people's libraries with some new update.
So there's this new bug that is in the latest update for Apple. It's been reported on Reddit, been picked up by Mac Rumors, where people updated their phones and suddenly a bunch of not safe for work photos that they made in the past suddenly started showing up in their library. I'm sure it was other photos as well, but you're going to notice those ones.
Sure, of course. It's but what it tells me, like the story behind that story, is that you deleted stuff. It was not deleted.
Right. The way that people are telling the story is like, hey, I deleted these photos. And the new iOS update is undeleting them. It's like, it's not doing that. What it's doing is it's showing you that they were never deleted in the first place.
Right, that data was never removed. Like, sure, it was maybe removed from the index. They just deleted from the index. They did not, like the file itself, the data still existed. In fact, do you remember there was I always thought of this as one of those the stories to beware of and just keep in the back of my mind. It was a photo of, I think it was like an old like G4 Tech TV host.
Oh, I can name her right off I won't say her name, but I can name her in 2 seconds.
So you know this story. She had a profile photo, and some people like went in and managed to uncrop the profile photo.
Yeah,
and it was not safe for work. And so this poor girl who she must have been like, I look like like my face in that one. Put it up and then cropped it and thought, there, job done, other data gone. And it was not, and people got it. And I don't know, that's when I go bury myself in a hole. I'm going to feed myself to the orcas.
So this is one of those things, I won't name her because I think people should be able to live shit down, especially if it wasn't their fault. What she did was she took an artistic photo that was topless, and she put a cropped version of it online. But if memory serves, this is almost 20 years ago. There was a preview photo that comes like a thumbnail that comes with it as well. That does not get cropped or could be uncropped and then blown up. And so people did that from the original image, uncropped the photo, and then that circulated everywhere. And when this thing was like a topless photo of someone famous was a really, really rare thing.
Right. This predates the fappening or whatever it was by decades, right? And it was like the very idea that you weren't supposed to have seen it is what was titillating about it. That's one of the reasons it went everywhere.
So let me ask you this. When you went to high school, was there ever a scandal where someone's nude photos got out in high school? No. It wasn't even a thing. Like, that would have been a fucking showstopper when I was in high school. That would have been like
everyone in school would know.
They would have brought everyone to the gym and had a discussion about it, probably like in a pep rally or something like that. And I didn't go to a small school, but it would have been no joke. It would have been a showstopper. And somewhere between that point in time and now, I'm saying high school, so it would be a big deal, but you know what I mean? It's like,
but it's not.
It's more common.
Yeah, it's not the life ender that it would have been at the time.
Here's a better example, is that somebody, thought this was a great idea. Let's put up a portal that shows Dublin, Ireland. And when you look at it from Dublin, Ireland, it shows New York City.
What could go wrong?
And people can look at the portal. It's like a window, a digital window where they can look through to each other. And they've had people on the Irish side showing the New Yorkers pictures of 9/11.
Thanks, guys.
Flipping each other off. And now one of the more famous ones is, of course, an OnlyFans model. Can you hear me doing the air quotes? OnlyFans model flashed from the American side to the Irish side. So now it's been shut down, and they're going to try to figure out like where it all went wrong. Who would have thought?
Well, let me ask you a question, and I think we're going to get to the bottom of this, Bernie. When people are given the tools to build something in a game, or to deform the terrain, or draw something, what gets drawn?
A dick.
What's the first thing? The very first thing is always a dick.
Always. There was a stat that I heard of in video games in like the late 2000s, which was for developers of single player games, it was time to crate or time to barrel. Like, how far in the campaign do you have to go before you see a crate or a barrel? And they would try to extend that as far as they could, because it was just kind of like filler for the landscape.
Right. These are your guide marks. Like, this blocks off this, so you don't try to go through there.
Right. And then for creative tools and mod tools that you give to the users, it's time to dick. What is the time to dick? And the time to dick is usually about 0.5 seconds.
Right.
For whatever reason.
It is the first thing anyone is ever going to attempt to make.
There's two things I don't understand, but I recognize they're part of our society. I don't understand why people draw dicks all the time. I don't get it. Like, I see people doing like their first thing they do when they have an opportunity that they want to draw a dick. I never got, like, am I missing something there, Ash?
You know what it is? I think we never really left third grade. I
didn't do it in third grade though,
and all
either.
That stuff. But that was basically from third grade is like all the toilet humor, and then you hit puberty, and then it becomes dicks.
Okay.
But you never leave that sort of crass humor behind.
What's your default doodle? Like, if you have to, like, if there's a foggy window and you're going to draw something, or something where you have a piece of paper, you're going to dig a doodle, what is it?
Cartoon sun.
You do a cartoon sun.
Always.
I do. We'll have to take a link up of this or a photo or something. I do a little punk rock dude that Rachel Gilmer in 7th grade taught me in math class. It's what I do every single time I do a doodle. It's my default doodle.
Sometimes I'll try to remember how to do. You remember the cool S?
What about, this is kind of lost of time. When you go to the store or something, there would be a word processor or a typewriter. When you sit down to the new keyboard, let's say, what's the first thing you type?
Lorem ipsum.
You do really? You type Lorem
I
ipsum?
do now, but only because I was taught to.
Yeah, some people do the fox, jumping over the thing.
The quick brown fox jumped over.
Older people, you know what they'll type?
What is it?
Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country.
Wow.
That was something people would type in a lot. I type.
Lazy dog. Jumped over the lazy dog.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Unless that dog has been near an Instacart
I'm curious
shopper.
though. I want to know. I want this to be a great for our subreddit, which has been great recently. We should make in the threads. Just do your default doodle. But for God's sake, no dicks. If your default is a dick, just say it and you don't have to post it.
Just sit this one out.
Here's the other thing I don't understand, which I have to get this out. I don't understand the feet thing. I don't understand it because I'm not into feet and I'm not against feet. I'm neither pro or anti feet.
They're just feet.
They're just feet. And I don't get the fascination with feet. Like, it doesn't, like, if someone didn't point out that Quentin Tarantino puts bare feet in his movies, I would have never noticed that. I wouldn't even have noticed it. Like when a bare foot appears, it doesn't register with me in any way whatsoever. And there's some people that are like super into feet. I don't get that. There's some people who think feet are the grossest thing on the planet. Like when you go in their house and you have to take off your shoes. To me, that's like, oh, we're just trying to save the carpet, right?
Right.
But there's some people like, no, those shoes have been outside and they're disgusting and filthy and you can't put them anywhere inside of our house. It's like when those people go outside, are they just like walking around outside?
Must be germaphobes?
I mean, it must be, but there's a lot of people like that. But there's a weird thing with feet in particular. Like you're either like super pro feet or super anti feet. I feel like I'm just in the middle here. I don't give a fuck about feet.
Here's my stance about feet. Feet do a lot of hard work for us, right? They get us around. They are working all day, every day with very little thanks. I do not take nearly as good care of my feet as I ought to. They should honestly, for how much work they do, they should be getting lotions and they should be getting like, those little callus rubs or whatever all the time. I should be treating them right. And you know what? I don't.
See, right now, someone's either bookmarking what you're talking about or like turning us off immediately.
Feet are an unforgotten hero, but they do good work for us. That said, not sexy.
Okay. Just want to stay quiet here. Could you say feet one more time? Isolated for everybody. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I'm not like trying to shame or anything like that. I literally don't get it.
Here's what we do.
My whole life I've lived. I don't give a shit about feet.
Let's just ask Tarantino.
Never got it. Anyway, back to the news.
Back to the news. Bridgerton's out.
Oh, God. Bridgerton 3?
Yeah, that's right. But specifically, and this is a weird thing, the first half of Bridgerton 3 is out. Netflix is doing a weird thing with this new season of Bridgerton, and it's something that Netflix has been doing more and more recently, which is they aren't releasing week to week like traditional TV, but they're also not doing their drop it everything at once. They did this with was it Stranger Things, the most recent episode as well, where they dropped half the season.
Most recent season, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the most recent season of Stranger Things. And they're doing this with Bridgerton. They've done it with a couple other things
as well. Is that not a production
now.
issue?
I don't think it's a production issue. I have a theory about what it is. My theory is that the upside of binge is that everyone can see everything all at once, and it's great for doing the full binge and just getting people in. However, it also means the tail of discussion is a lot shorter. I think what they're trying to do is split the difference so people are talking about it longer, but they still are like, well, we're still the Netflix thing. We're dropping a bunch of episodes at once. So they're dropping half the season now and half the season next month.
That was a damning impression, by the way.
Thank you. So it evens out, like it equates to almost like, 4 episodes now, 4 episodes in 4 weeks. Just do them weekly if that's what you want.
All right, so what are you going to do? Are you going to wait to watch the whole thing, or are you going to watch the beginning and wait?
I'm going to do exactly what Netflix wants me to do, which is binge about it, talk about it for 4 weeks, and then binge the next one and talk about it for another 4 weeks.
I think they're just masking production issues when they do that. Like, they want to get it out. They got a gap in the schedule. That's what that says to me. I mean, I'm sure there's a philosophy behind it, but I don't know. I've been in rooms where people talk about that stuff, and it's usually based around programming and what's in the calendar and what's in the pipeline and what isn't, more than anything else.
But does that still happen with streaming in this day and age? Like when you'd be like, well, this is Bridgerton's time.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what's coming out. Like if they have a gap, then sure. It's probably less relevant since the post-COVID drought that happened with productions. But I'm sure, just pipeline stuff comes up.
Do you think maybe they're trying to fill gaps?
Yeah, especially if something goes back into reshoots and it's like, well, now we have a gap in the schedule and we got to keep people coming back and clicking every single day. They got to come back and check the top 10 in their country on Netflix. So what are we going to do? Let's put this season out, like move it up, and then we can do a pause and hold the next one. All right, so please, in the comments for the episode or on our subreddit, Morning Somewhere, r/Morning Somewhere, come show us your default doodle or what you type the first time you sit down at a keyboard. I want to know. And listen to me.
No dicks.
You behave yourselves. We're going to be watching this. We're going to be policing this. You behave yourself.
If your default is a dick, just sit this one out.
Or do the thing where you blur it. I don't know how you do that. I'm sure you can do it. You'll figure it out. You're very smart. You're on the internet. You know what you're doing. But look, this isn't some Irish New York portal that we're working with here. This is a publicly traded company, Reddit. We should treat it with the respect it deserves. Okay, speaking of that, if you want to support this podcast, please visit patreon.com/morningsomewhere.
And on that note, I'd like to thank today's sponsors, Dylan Unruh and Robin Hardman, for sponsoring this episode of Morning Somewhere.
Thank you, Dylan and Robin. We will be back to talk to you tomorrow. We hope you will be here as well.
Bye, everybody.